Hi there, this is Dan from onlinebasscourses.com. Hope you're doing well. In this video I'm going to show you a few little patterns, sounds, riffs from Black Market by Weather Report. Now this is off the 8:30 live album, and I listened to this loads when I was a kid, like when I was starting bass like nearly 30 years ago. That shows how old I am. And one thing about this lockdown that we're in now, I've got a bit more time, I'm just finding myself picking up the bass and just listening to songs new and old and just, figuring them out again. I think that's one of the best ways of learning the bass is to try and figure out by ear your favourite bass line, and then even better than that is to just work out what's going on, get under the skin of it and see how you might be able to use that in different songs and in different genres even. So I'm just going to show you a few ideas. There is a lifetime of information in that entire album, and even in this song, there's Black Market, there's loads of stuff going on. But I'm just going to show you a few things, and as we go through, I'll show you what you might be able to do to take that and make that your own. So, first of all, we're in the key of B flat major. So that's how we're playing it down by the first fret. So I'll just quickly show that in case you don't know it. So it's first fret, third fret of the A string, and then open string, first fret, third fret of the D string, and then open string, second fret, third fret of the G string. Now, in that soul video that I did last week, I put a link to that. That was one pattern that came up a lot, that you hear a lot in soul, Motown, old school R&B, is the use of the root, the sixth and the fifth. So just to remind you of that, we've got the third fret of the G string, that's the root note. You got the fifth fret of the D string and the third fret of the D string, that's the sixth and the fifth of the chord, respectively. And just one thing to start off already is if you're on, let's say, the G string and you want to find the sixth, you just drop down a string and then 2 frets across, and the fifth is the same fret dropping down a string. And you really need to know these intervals, these are intervals, and what they sound like. So the first thing is that's the pattern going on. Now I think that Jaco, James Jamerson and Flea, these are 3 players that I listened to religiously when I was a kid. And one thing about all 3 of them, and this is difficult to explain, but for me, I hear just the bass line just sounds like a living, breathing thing. It's just amazing the way that the feel and the flair that those 3 players put into it. And if you listen to this, there's a bounce going on here, and I think it's something to do with the fact that the speed's roughly, there's 16th notes going on here. So whenever you're playing something like this, you need to know the subdivisions. So if these are our beats, and it's that's how you subdivide into the 16th notes. So even though it's simple, he's adding some ghost notes in there, and that's just giving it this rhythmic feel and accenting little notes here and there. Do make sure that you listen to the original to hear what I'm saying. I'm trying my best, but I'm not Jaco. And actually, you shouldn't try to be Jaco or anyone either, because A, it's not going to happen, and it's just a bit weird to try and want to exactly be like someone else. You want to develop your own voice, and I'm going to do a lot more videos like this, which reminds me to tell you to subscribe and like and share this video and all that, because I think a really good way of learning the bass is just to listen to many different bass players and just to work out what they're doing. And the more styles you listen to, the more it becomes whatever you're listening to becomes your own voice after a while. So after the 5th fret note, which is the 6th, that's the 5th fret of the D string, we've got those 2 ghost notes. So we're alternating the fretting, the plucking hand at all times. And he's adding accents in, and I think that's what gives it that bounce and gives it that life I was talking about earlier. He does that kind of thing as well, sort of a half a hammer on, half slide from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret. Obviously he's got a fretless, so there's no frets when he's playing it. And he doesn't do exactly that lick that I just did there, but that's the point, you know. I'm feeling to play it like this. What I did there, if you do exactly the same pattern down an octave, you'll get the root, sixth, fifth in that position. That's first fret of the A string and then third and first frets of the E string. And then you've got a major pentatonic scale. That's one I talked about in that soul video I did. So we're going frets 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3 on the G, the D, and the A. Shift down to the first fret of the A string. And you can keep going. Third fret, first fret of the E string. You can use that in country music. Or pop or anything. So that's, you know, an idea of how to take this sound and move it elsewhere. I mean, you can clearly hear that Jaco is very influenced by that whole Motown soul R&B thing. We're in the key of B flat major, as I was saying, but I don't know who wrote this actually, probably Joe Zawinul, but it just morphs into a B flat mixolydian moment coming up. Just to explain that very, very quickly. That was the B flat major scale, that this is the key that we're in. A mixolydian scale is only one note different to that. And it's that A on the second fret of the G string. If you lift your finger up, flatten it. So make that go down one fret, and that's just a mixolydian mode. It's one note different to the major scale, and it sounds really great in this moment here. Let me quickly show you that. The way I'm playing it is this. I'm going fret 6, 5, 3 on the D string with finger 4, 3, and 1. And then finger 4 on the 6th fret of the A string. I'm just moving first finger onto the 4th fret, then 5th fret of the A string. And we're landing on the root, which is the 6th fret of the E string. Now that kind of pattern was one that I was showing you on that soul video. The groove carries on, but how can you just take that and maybe make it your own? So let's just say we're going. All I was doing there, I've now switched to a mixolydian kind of thing here. So I'm just going 6th fret of the E string. This was another pattern I went on about a lot. We've got the root, 5th, minor 7th octave. Used a lot in funk, a lot in Motown. And tagging on that exact Jaco riff. So down 2 frets is the minor 7th from the octave or the root, and I know that up the octave. I also know how it's going to sound. So that's a good way to work on your ear, is to have a pattern, so an octave, 2 frets across, 2 strings down, and know exactly how it's going to sound. If you sing a scale all the way up, make sure you can do that. Sing a scale away from the bass and test yourself on the different intervals. So I'm just messing around with that exact Jaco lick taken from Black Market. So that's one thing you can do. It's a really great thing there. He does that a lot, sliding, and just different patterns and different sequences around a pentatonic scale. Now, for ages, this song just stays on B flat, and really, I'm only showing you the very, very surface of what he's doing, and it's not exactly what he's doing. So what you should do is listen to the whole tune and just anything that catches your ear, try and figure it out, okay? It's a really good thing to do. But sticking to this groove. It's another thing that he does a lot is hammer-ons. So another shape that's really common that I showed you in the sol video is walking up from the third of the chord to the fifth. So let's do it here. So if I'm on the 6th fret of the E string, that's your B flat. If you go fret 5, 6, 7, 8, very common pattern. Now Jaco would do things like, explain that because it's a bit subtle, this. So it's plucking twice, that's on the 5th fret of the A string, and then the next note is created by a hammer-on, second finger fretting hand. You carry on each finger doing that, and make sure that your hammer-on is as loud as your plucked note. That's the trick with hammer-ons. And if you mix those up with ghost notes, you start to get that Jaco thing, which again he borrowed from players like Jerry Jamot and other great R&B soul players. And just obviously he made it his own. I think Jaco and ghost notes just go hand in hand for me. So we've got that root 6/5 pattern that he creates a really nice bubbling kind of 16th note pattern with using ghost notes. We got, and there's two other things I want to show you quickly. One is if you don't really know the difference between Mixolydian and major, this is a good tune to listen to because there's one section that just goes through B flat major, and if you actually try to play a Mixolydian over it, you'll hear that note clash against the major 7th of a major scale. So it's only one note different, but that one note's quite a big deal. So let me just quickly show you. If I'm on the 6th fret of the E string, this is the Mixolydian scale, finger numbers wise. I'm going 2/4, 1/2/4, 1/2/4. And we got this little melody that happens later on in the tune. So we start on the octave, just walk down a Mixolydian mode. Did you get that? So let me just show you that. So we're going 8, 6, 5, and then 8, 6, 5 on the D and the A string. That's fret numbers. And then little finger on the 8th fret, the A string. And then 5, 5th fret to 6th fret on the D string. And then again down the scale. You can see that the pattern's a bit different to a major scale. It just doesn't sound right with a major scale. It just couldn't work without this Mixolydian kind of sound, and you'll hear this a lot. There's just one more thing I want to show you from this tune that he does, and I remember this really catching my ear all those decades ago now when I was listening to this, and I actually I remember not being able to play it. It was a bit too quick, a bit too technical for me at the time. I know how to do it now, and I'm going to show you this. There's a lot of information in this small little section I'm about to give you here. So I'm just going to move up to around about the 6th fret. Now he's carrying on with the groove. Maybe he's probably up here actually. And it's that. Firstly, I'm going to show you how to play it because it's really great, and then I'll show you what's going on. This analytical approach I'm giving you about what's happening, I think is really important, because by by extrapolating what he's doing, you can then go, okay, well, if he's doing that, can I then do X, Y, Z? I'll show you what I mean in a minute, because I just came up with a couple of fills that definitely work using this idea. So let me just show you it first. So we're going little finger on the 10th fret of the G string, first finger on the 7th fret of the G string. Now, this is technically probably a bit wrong, but I'm going 3rd fret to 2nd finger on the 8th fret of the D and then the A string. You could also just roll your 2nd finger and bar it slightly, which I am actually probably better, because for the next bit we're going 8th fret G string and then 10, 7 on the D string and then 8 on the A string. That's just a dominant arpeggio. Another thing Jaco does a lot with the plucking hand is not to pluck absolutely everything. So there's 2 plucks followed by a rake. So if you're starting with your index finger, it'd be index middle, and then you carry on raking with the middle. And if it was the other finger, then it would be middle, index, rake with the index. You just got to time the fretting hand if you do that, so that you're not getting a chord. That's another Jaco thing that happens a lot, raking, which allows you just to get these faster passages if you're playing with 2 fingers. So here, it's just a B flat major arpeggio, an inversion really. So we're stopping on the 5th there, and then, as I said, you've got that dominant 7th arpeggio. Now, I'm going to put a link to a video I did on the 7 arpeggios from C major, which is exactly the same as the arpeggios you'd get from B flat major or any other major key. This is something really important to know. Briefly, you've got a B flat major 7. If we go through quickly the arpeggios that you get in B flat major, I'm going to hang around too much on this, but that's a B flat major 7th. Then you've got C minor 7, D minor 7. So this is the 4, E flat major 7, 5, it's F, is F7, F dominant 7th. That's where we're getting that. Then we got the 6, is G minor 7, and then we've got A minor 7 flat 5, and then these are the 7 arpeggios that you get from B flat major. So this is what I was saying earlier, is how can you take that idea and use it yourself in situations that will come up all the time. So we've got those 7 chords, and Jaco was using some of those arpeggios from that key. So what if I take the 2 and the 3 chords, so we got the C minor 7 and the D minor 7, what if I just play around with those? So we got, so I just went up that minor 7th, the C minor 7, and then down the D minor 7. You can use that in conjunction with notes from the scale. Now there I just played a 3-note per string pattern, not. It just gives me a bit more scope. The bass is mapped out quite nicely for me there. So let's just play around that a few more. I'm improvising this as I go, so. There I was just using B flat major 7. Well, that's the B flat major 7 arpeggio. I'm just going a fret below it. That pattern there repeats here. And I'm just doing a little shift, thumb at the back of the neck, just shifting across in order to get that smooth. Now I'm just making this up, so obviously I would have to maybe record this, listen back, what sounds good, what do I need to work on? So that was nice. I like doing that idea Jaco did in vibrato. And that's just the major pentatonic scale I showed you earlier on in the video, but just up here. Now you can hear that this sounds melodic, so you can use this in pop. You know, I know this is jazz fusion, and that's two dirty words for a lot of people, but you can transfer this to a different style of music and make it around. That's why I really, really would urge you to listen to as many styles of music as you can, and definitely listen to Jaco, because he's one of the greats. Now, I'm filming a few videos. Right now, I'm going to finish this video, and I'm going to do a completely different video on Sting and how amazing a bass player he is, and it's going to be so much simpler, but I think that's the point. What are the lessons from this? I mean, from Jaco, there are hundreds of lessons just in this one song alone. I've given you 3 or 4, not many at all. So I hope it gives you a few ideas of what you might want to do, but make sure you subscribe, because you'll get notifications of the other videos. I'm going to do loads more on this. Next one is going to be Sting and how he plays for the song. So it's going to be very different to this, very much a pop setting. So if you do have any questions, leave them in the comments below or get in touch and I'll answer them. If you've got any more bass players that you might want me to do a similar video like this, again, let me know. And anyway, I hope you're well, and I will see you on the next video.